Okay, guys. So how fun was that? What a fun business, huh? I know. Too bad she. I mean, it would be nice. Maybe we can. You can go do her yoga class, and then you get to see him. So, huh? Yeah. Yoga's for everybody. So, you can even have like she's doing she said 3 birthday parties today. So it's, you can maybe that's your next birthday party idea. All right, guys, let's calm down. So let's talk a little bit about what her business was. So tell me something about what problem was she solving? Or what? Well, no, to start her company. We talk about identifying problems. She what? She wanted to work for herself, and she was struggling to come up with an idea of what to do with that, right? So, what was the event that caused her to figure out to do this?
Her fiance.
What was the thing that happened? The big event that happened that gave her this idea to do a big goat yoga thing to.
Wasn't it like her fiance's mom?
Well, she had that.
She was about to go to sleep and then she thought it was good.
Because of Hurricane Harvey, right? Some terrible thing happened, and she was like, "Oh, how can we raise money to help Hurricane Harvey?" And came up with the idea that way. So, all of the negative things that happen in the world can bring positive things out for you. So, when we talk about problems and when we talked about problems several weeks ago, identifying where problems coming up are not necessarily bad things; they just become opportunities. Yeah, she had to go. She's got I think 3 classes today that she's teaching. So, So that's her business. So super fun. All right, so we're going to talk today about cost, pricing, and accounting, which is the really kind of key meat part of this is how you make money, right? Who wants their business to make money? Raise your hand if you want to make money.
I do. I'm raising my hand.
Yep. So this is how you figure out how you're going to make money. So how do you come up with a price for your product or service? Anyone have any ideas? If you have a service or a product, something you're going to sell, how do you come up with what the price is?
I guess it depends on what you're
Say this Chick-fil-A cup,
Wait.
set it up $5.
So you put it as high as you can go. It's basically trying to get it. You're randomly going and seeing what you're going to get, right? What was yours?
I mean, I guess it just depends on what it is you're selling
Yeah.
or what you're
So one of the things is how. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Whenever I'm on the launch, she's like, how much money do you think I should pay you to do this?
Oh.
Like, go the highest amount you can go until she's like, no, I'll do, if I say 10, and she's like, no, I'll do 5. And then, you just, you just keep raising.
So you keep negotiating, right? So that's you can come up with a here's a job that I need to have done. You're saying I'm willing to do it for this. They say I'm willing to pay you this, and then you kind of work to the middle, right? That's one way. So one of the things that you want to factor into how much you charge something for your product or service is how much it costs you. If that cup costs you $1,
Set that bitch at $5.
or let's try not to use foul language. But you're right. You've got to charge them more than the actual product, the pieces of the product cost, right? Also, like you said, how much you want or need to make, right? If you want to make money, you need to make a certain amount of money to make your time worthwhile, right? So you need to look and see how much is it that you need to charge for this product to make the amount of money that you need to make to pay your rent or pay your bills or
babysitting. It could be like $50 an hour or
$50 an hour.
I've never heard that, but
okay, so I was at school and she told me that one
money?
She was a babysitter and then she wanted to be a teacher. So that's how much she got paid. I asked her. So
35.
she got $50 an hour.
Lordy.
Wow, she must have been babysitting a lot of kids and
Yeah,
but
she babysitted.
Bro, you
babysat
can't make
kids
$50
and
an hour.
wow.
You can't make $50 an hour.
Who told you? But
What
it's
do you-
different.
what do you work on?
They charge you different than babysitter.
Babysitting?
Yes.
If you want to be realistic, how long was she babysitting?
I don't know.
I mean,
Ask these questions.
yeah.
To my teacher. I'm not.
you never know. I mean, it could be really rich person who they have to do a whole lot of other things in the house too. So you know,
She had to feed them, take them out, like, put them in bed.
yeah.
Shower them.
So in addition to that, we talked about competition, right? It depends on what your competitors are charging, right? So you want to that cup costs you $1 and you want to sell it for $5, but if Madison's got the same kind of cups and she's selling them for $3, can you sell them for $5?
No, this is 5.
I'll put a little twist to it.
So you may have to do that, right? But you need to consider what your competition is charging, because you can't. That's why if you need someone to mow the lawn, and one guy comes out and says I'll do it for $50, another person comes out and says I'll do it for $20, who are you going to pick?
20.
You're going to pick 20, right? If you don't know anything else about that, so you need to consider what your competition is charging.
It depends on how big the lawn.
No, I was just using that as an example. Okay, so
But in different places.
costs. I'm sorry?
For the same thing in different places, it costs different.
Yeah. So when you go and buy Nikes at like Foot Locker, are they more there, or does Walmart have them for cheaper? You know, Walmart's got them for cheaper, right?
$25.
So let's talk a little bit more about costs. So what goes into the cost of your product or service? Hey guys, pay attention, please. What goes into the cost of your product or service? What are the costs of your what are the costs of your product or service? What are some examples of costs that might be? Well, so let's say our business is this phone, right? We're making this phone. So what goes into what are some costs of this phone?
Probably like
Battery, the charger.
the screen,
Screen,
the button, the actual phone,
the case.
the camera. Just kidding, I don't know.
The
So-
wall socket that's on it.
The
So-
inside of the whole thing.
So all those different components, right? Each of them have a cost for each of those parts. Now, what else to get this phone put together? What else do you have? What are some other costs?
Program.
You have tools, the equipment that makes those parts and actually helps put it together. You have the materials that you have to put together.
So yeah, the people that take it to where it
Programming, yeah, you have
needs to take it where it needs to be.
you have the shipping, you have getting the product there, you have the software development to make the phone work. You have advertising, you have all these costs, right? So it's not just right. There's a lot, and then you have people that are doing all those things also. So you've got to pay all those people as well. So there's a whole lot of different things that go into your costs. You have the materials. Who said materials? You said materials, right? Time. Time goes into this. It takes a while. You got to pay people. Labor and employees. You said shipping. You know, there's and then also research, right? So how many of y'all are familiar with like companies that make medicine? Yeah. Like, so companies make medicine, right? So they've got to spend a lot of time researching and figuring out, do these things work? Will this work? You've got to research whether I can make an iPhone do what an iPhone does, right? What's what? Oh, that's a good question. Without the internet, what would we do? So I didn't have the internet when I was growing up. They didn't come out with the internet until I was in college. So I had to go to the library and look up books.
How old are you?
49.
Bro,
That's not bad.
My dad said internet came out when he was
My mom's
in high school.
45.
What happened?
I'm a little older than your dad then, I guess. That came out when I was in college.
My dad.
Dad is younger for my mom and dad when they were in middle school.
So,
My mom and dad are 25 and 27.
so you guys are really lucky because the research part.
So your mom gave birth to you at 5?
Hey guys, listen up. So you guys are really lucky. So the research part is much easier for you guys because of the internet. Now, one thing you got to be careful of the internet.
Research, you might find something that's already like
That's true. So when you're coming out with your business or product or invention or whatever, it may already be out there.
it is harder. It is still hard because
It's still hard. But you have it all in one. You can sit at a computer and do it instead of go to the library and search through. Okay, I need books on this area or whatever like that. It's very, very, very different. So there's a lot of different things that go into the costs that you don't necessarily think about when you think about I'm selling a cup or I'm selling a phone or I'm selling shoes. There's lots of other stuff that goes into it. It doesn't matter, like whatever your business is.
that app Let Go, when you take a picture.
Yeah, yeah.
I heard shoes, and I want to know.
No, so Angel, let's talk about shoes for a second. So when we're talking about cost for shoes, what do we need? Okay, it doesn't matter about Skechers, and these aren't Skechers anyway. They're Sauconys, but so like you went Nikes. So what does Nike have to? What does Nike need? Yeah. So what do you need? What does Nike need to make a shoe? What do you like? Jordans are Nikes.
Fabric.
Yes, they are.
No, they're not.
Okay.
They are.
So what do they need to make Jordans?
The materials, like the.
All right.
Yes, they are.
All right. So
The materials.
How you gonna tell me?
hey guys. All right. Let's stop. Guys, hold on. So let's talk about Jordans then. Okay. So what do they need? What goes into making a shoe? Give me some examples.
They gotta look pretty tight, huh?
No, but before you, so you got to design them, right? You've got to have a designer. That's okay.
Gotta look pretty dope.
Same thing. So what about the materials? What materials go in shoes?
Fabric.
Fabric. What else? What are some? Anyone got materials for shoes?
Yeah. You have to have the sole of it.
Sole. What's the sole made out of? Rubber, right? So the sole,
Sometimes it's made out of like this gel foam.
gel foam, right? So.
Memory foam.
So all these different materials all cost different things, and then you have to put them all together. So all that goes into cost. So you got to be very conscious about if you're building something, what those costs are. If you're providing a service, how much time you're spending. And then we also talked about the delivery, right? Who mentioned shipping? So you also got to figure out how you got to get it to your customer and what that's going to cost as well. So that's good. What's that?
Some companies do it for free because the item either already costs a lot.
So let's talk about that real quick. So we'll get to this in pricing in a minute, but that's actually interesting. Hey guys, can we please pay attention and stop goofing off? So we got some really important here, right? So sometimes companies offer free shipping, right? Is that free? Is it really free?
No, it goes into the whatever you're buying.
The cost of whatever you're buying is already high enough to cover that cost, right? So it's still a cost, but it's just hidden somewhere else. So let's talk about. Does anyone know what the difference between fixed costs and variable costs are? Fixed costs and variable costs.
It depends on like.
So someone give me an example of a fixed cost.
Wait. What's our fixed cost? Me.
No, a fixed cost or a variable cost. So a fixed cost is something that no matter what happens, it doesn't change. No matter how many phones you make, what? So no matter, so let's say we stick with we're making Nike shoes or we're making Jordans.
When shoes come out and it's really high, and then over time it gets lower, the price of the shoe.
So those are your fixed costs, right? So a fixed cost might be your rent for your building. So no matter how many shoes you make that month, your rent cost is still the same, right? So that's a fixed cost. So if you make one shoe and your rent's $1,000, then your shoe costs you $1,000 of fixed cost. If you make 1,000 shoes, each one costs $1 of fixed costs, right? So fixed costs. Can someone give me another example of fixed costs besides rent? Like what?
Like how you get paid, like how much you get paid. Like some people like they get paid on how much time they work, and then like some people get paid on.
So your cost of labor can be, you can have some fixed costs in labor and some variable costs in labor. So like people that aren't tied to production, so like your accountant or somebody like that they're going to do the same amount of work no matter however many you produce, right? But the guys that are working, on the assembly line, putting the shoes together or whatever, those are going to be dependent on how many shoes you make, right?
Sometimes like people get paid if they work extra hours.
Yeah. So
Some people, if they work extra hours, they don't get paid extra. They just
that's salary versus hourly pay. Yeah. So what else? Can someone else give me another example of a fixed cost?
A what?
A fixed cost. What's something else that's like rent that no matter how much you produce, is water bill. Excellent. Well, water bill can be a little bit of that if your product is if your product requires So insurance, stuff like that, those are going to be the same cost no matter what you're doing. Unless you get to a certain size, and then you may have to jump to a different cost of insurance. So rent, your phone bill, electricity. Electricity can vary some depending on how much you're open, but generally that's generally considered a fixed cost, right? So what about variable costs? So water bill can kind of be that way, but let's look at it. Let's look at it in the form of we're making shoes, right?
When the price goes, like when a new shoe comes out, it's like a high price, and then over
But
time
then
it
when
goes
it's
down.
yeah, because when another shoe comes out, that price that shoe's old.
So that's a little bit different when we're talking about costs, right? So if so anyone else want to take a guess on what's a variable cost? So what about the material in the shoe? The rubber. If I make one shoe, I only need a little bit of rubber. Yeah.
So you put these shoes together, right?
Yep.
And the cost it's different for each thing you get to make these shoes, right?
Each piece of it costs you a different amount, right?
And you put the shoe together, and it costs more than it does. Do they bump the thing up depending on, say they spent $100 on material to build the shoe, and then the shoes are $200.
So if they spend $100 on the materials, and they've got to charge something more than that, right?
Yeah.
Plus they've also got their fixed costs to worry about, right?
Yes.
So if it costs them in the variable costs and the materials and the people to put it together and everything like that, $100 per shoe, no matter how many shoes they sell, they at least have that $100 in there. But if they've got $1,000 in rent and they make 10,000 shoes,
Talk about this in math.
yeah.
Math
So,
class. Right now we're talking about if you make something, if you get something for $100, you need to bump it up more because you're not. Say they don't like it, they return it to the store. You're getting back what you made plus more.
yep. You got to have you. Exactly right. So this is good. You're learning this in math right now because this is very, very important whenever you're figuring out how much you're going to price your stuff. Because how many people know? Who knows how many new businesses that start? How many of them go out of business within the first 5 years? It's a lot. Anyone want to guess what the percentage is of businesses that fail in the first 5 years? 75, 56. It's very high.
Maybe 95%.
Yeah, like 75%.
That's closest. It's about 80% of businesses fail. So you said 81? Nice. I didn't hear you say 81. It's about 80% of businesses fail. And a lot of the reasons they fail is because they don't pay a lot of attention in this area. So this is a really important area to pay attention to because this is how you're going to make sure that your business is solvent. Anyone know what that means? What is it? How do we know how to price what?
Anything in your business, like how
So this is what we're learning right now, right? So let's take something a little simpler. All right, so let's take this. Hey guys, so let's do something a little simpler. Let's take this cup right here, this cup of tea, right? So what are the variable costs in this cup of tea? No. What are the components that are? So I've got two. They've given me 2 cups. I've got this because it's hot. This cardboard holder thing. I've got tea bags, right? Tea bags. The water, right? Those are all of the variable costs in this cup because no matter how in this cup of tea.
The tea bags might cost.
So I mean, yeah. So those are the components of this, right? And a lid. So no matter how many of these they sell, they've got all those pieces. So we need to know if each of these cups cost 5 cents to the, that's 10 cents, and this may cost 2 cents. That each tea bag might cost 30 cents, and the lid may cost 4 cents, right? So you add all that up. All of these components are your variable costs. So let's say all these pieces together cost 50 cents to make this cup of tea. So now, what's the price I could sell this for? What do you think? So $1. Now now that goes to we're going to skip to here. Takes you 50 cents to make this cup. So this is where we're going to get into profit right here. So we're hold that thought.
That's the profit. And then when you sell it for $1, you get 50 cents.
You get 50 cents back, but you still have to pay your rent out of that 50 cents, and you have to pay all of your fixed cost also. So that's not. So there's a gross margin and a net margin that we'll go through in a minute. But let's talk about profit. Anyone know what profit is? When you hear profit, what do you think?
Money.
Like you buy something and sell it for more than it's worth, and you get
And you get the difference?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you get to meet all these people?
Yeah.
We've already met her, right? That's her wife, right?
No, these are all part of. I'm not sure if you get to meet all of them or not.
These are all the people who are part of
They'll be here at the last class. All right. So profit. What do you think of when you think of profit? Money. Money that you make that you what? That you don't spend. Okay. So.
Like if you got $100 and you can't go for like $20, you have to find something that's in that budget.
Yeah.
So, me and my mom and dad were talking about how when you work, your money goes to the government.
Oh, we'll get to taxes.
So, like, why does it go to them? They're not even working for them.
Oh, that's a really good question.
They're not even working for us, so why did they get their money that they are making?
So I'm going to answer that question in just a minute. Is that all right? Okay. So what do you think? Is profit good or bad? When you think of profit, what do you think? Good? It depends. So give me. Why do you say that? So some people when they hear profit, they think that's bad. Like they think, oh, big corporations making money, that's mean, that's bad. It's really not. Profit is a good thing. You can't do anything. Who wants to do good for the world, right? Who wants to contribute, do something positive? So in order to do that, you need money, right? For the most part, you can spend your time, you can do that stuff, but if you want to build a business or you want to build a nonprofit or you need something, you've got to have money to do that. So the more money that you have, the more profit you have, the more you can do good for the world and apply that to where you want to contribute to society. So it can be very good. It can be bad. When can it be bad? You know when profit can be bad? Oh, when you're taking advantage of people, so like a lot of these scams, where you're scamming people, taking advantage of older people, that is a bad way to make profit, right? But It still works, but it's a very negative thing. So it can be negative, but most people, most companies are starting their business and they're setting out to do something positive. Okay, so we're talking about profit here, right? So this was your question, right, about profit? So profit is price. The price that you charge minus the cost of your product is equal to your gross profits. Okay? Huh? Oh yeah, we're getting there. You're reading ahead there. All right. So there's something called EBITDA, which is how most businesses are judged on how well they're doing and what their profit is. And that's the earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. So let's talk about interest. So a lot of you, when you start your businesses, you may need to do a loan, right? You may have to borrow money to start your business. So the money that you pay in interest to borrow that money is going to come out of what your profits are after the fact. Same with taxes. So let's talk about taxes. Let's talk about taxes like you asked, right? So you let's say you make, for every dollar you make, how much do you think goes to the government?
25%.
Wait, so it's the gross? Have you like profit minus like half of the money you make? So probably like 50.
So it's right around 30% generally. Now it does vary. It does vary depending on how much money you make. But when who has a job right now? Who works?
I'm just playing. No, I don't.
Who works? Do you work and get a paycheck from somebody, or do you? Does anyone work at like a business, a store? Yeah. EBITDA. EBITDA. Okay, so what happens when you have a job? Hey guys, can I get your attention again, please? Guys, can I get your attention, please? All right, so when you have a job and you have a paycheck, when that paycheck comes, they're going to take the taxes out prior also. So, and when you have your business, you don't have that option where they take it out ahead of time. You've actually got to pay this out. So a lot of businesses will go in trouble with taxes as well. So to get your net profits, what you actually make, what you actually get to take home from your business, is you take your gross profits minus EBITDA, and that's your net profit.
How can you not say that?
It's just EBITDA. So I'm gonna tell you guys a little bit about a business I used to own. Candy store. Hello.
Candy store.
Yeah, I got your attention now. Candy store. So I used to own a candy store. For real. It was in the domain. Oh.
Was it Sugarfina?
No, it was Rocket Fizz. Rocket Fizz. So I used to own a candy store there, and I'm going to tell you a little bit how we did some of this work here because it's very easy to understand. So I spent a lot of money so I had about $6,000 a month. Guys, all right, guys, what do we need to do to pay attention here? So we have prizes today for everybody who's listening and being respectful.
I know, but I was passing it.
Yeah. So there's people that here that are trying to listen and trying to hear, and there's people that are being distracting to those people. So we need to be respectful of everybody here. So I'm going to tell you, I'm going to run you through some of the costs for this candy store, so you can see how this works. Yes.
What kind of candy did you sell?
A bunch of different kinds of candy, like all the stuff you see in normal stores, plus all kinds of old school candy that you hadn't seen.
Sell Snickers.
Of course.
Sold Laffy Taffy.
Sold Laffy Taffy.
So Willy Wonka bars?
Rocket Fizz. It's not open anymore.
Rice Krispie treat.
Huh?
Did you sell
Rock candy.
Willy Wonka bar?
Did.
No, you didn't.
Yeah.
Rice Krispie treat.
No, you
They had them.
Wonka, did you have the golden ticket side?
They had some. They had them inside them all, like all of them.
Yeah.
No, yeah, they sell them. Wonka bars for sure.
It's called Rocket Fizz.
Rocket Fizz. There's not one here anymore. Fizz.
Rocket Fizz? Fizz.
So I closed it because Retail is very difficult, and it was also a franchise. I did I made a little bit of money, but it was a lot more work than money that I made. Huh?
What were you working as?
So I owned it.
The manager? Oh, you owned it?
I owned it.
What did you get to eat the candy?
I sold it, and then the guy who bought it from me, he went out of business. Because it's very hard to make money when you're talking about. This is why this is an important lesson right here. It's profit. Fizz, F-I-Z-Z. So this is why it's really important to understand all your costs and your fixed costs and your variable costs. So my rent was $6,000 a month. The rent for my store. Oh, sorry. So the rent for my store was $6,000 a month. I had 8 employees that cost me about each employee costs about $1,600 a month. So times 8. Then I have to buy the candy, and I have to pay the electricity, and I have to and I have to be able to buy more candy as people buy it and restock. And then some candy goes bad, some candy gets stolen.
Somebody stole your candy?
Sure, but theft is something that's part of retail. People steal stuff, unfortunately.
Were you sad?
It was very fun because people would come in the store. No, the store. I mean, it certainly is upsetting when somebody steals from you, right? No, but overall the store was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to be in there, but.
I wouldn't find that fun. I'll tackle them and be like, give me that Snickers.
So guess how much candy. And it was candy, soda, and like little novelty items. But guess how much candy I had to sell every month just to break even? Just to break even.
Wait, what?
Guess how much candy I had to sell each month just to break even? How many? No, I mean millions. I would be making lots of money. How much? 10,000? Anyone?
A million. 500. 500.
So the amount of candy I had to sell every month just to break even. This is before I got to take home any money and feed my family and pay my bills. $23,000 in candy every month. No, it would be nice if you have it, but I'm telling you, it's a lot. That's a lot to sell, right? So
I'll buy it all.
everybody doesn't want candy, but there's so you have lots of other things. But my point is, you have to do a really good job of figuring out. So my candy. So when I bought the candy wholesale, anyone know what wholesale is? Wholesale. So the wholesale cost is, so I buy a piece of candy, I buy candy in bulk for my store. My cost that I have to pay was about, so let's say for a Snickers bar, so my cost per Snickers bar was like 60 cents.
Wait, your candy
Bro,
was
you
60
never
cents?
make that much.
So I have to sell that candy bar for like $1.80, right? And we use about 3 times. Before I can make any money. So I had to sell, you have to sell a whole lot of candy. If you have a better profit margin, if I can get my Snickers bars for 20 cents and I can sell them for $1.50 instead of $1.80, I can make a whole lot more.
You making some money?
Make a lot more.
Like Costco and like double the whole. Like,
Yeah, $2.
like double the size of it, and then like.
I went to Costco yesterday.
Yeah. So my point is, and I'm happy to help you guys with any of your pricing stuff, but figuring out what all your costs are is very, very important. So you can put your price in the right place, so you can actually make money. Because this is a big reason why a lot of companies go out of business, is because they don't do this well. So, all right, guys. So we have a taco bar that we're gonna start in just a second.